Hey guys, welcome back to Ringsiders. We are joined today by Will Ferrara. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How you guys doing today?
Warm?
We're good, man.
Very warm.
Apart from absolutely melting in this heat, we
We're
are good.
Yeah, we're happy to.
Hey.
We're good to be back. Yeah, it's even worse for me because I'm ginger, so I ain't built for this. So it's absolutely kicking my ass at the minute. I'm
Battling with the sun.
Oh no, we don't get along. We don't get along. I'm very much on board with Mr. Burns from The Simpsons trying to block the whole sun out. I think that was a great idea.
Yeah.
If I could do it, I would. But it's ridiculous. But yeah, dude, thanks for coming on. So we got a little cameo from Brock before we recorded as well, which was cool.
Let's start here.
There we go.
Hey,
buddy.
oh.
See, I've got a cat somewhere that usually makes an appearance, so you may see her at some point, but we'll see.
Keeping him on my lap here, otherwise I think he's going to interfere, barking all over the place.
Yeah, my cat does that. You don't see her all day. Then as soon as you do an interview, she pops up on the camera, and then we finish, she goes again. It's like, right, I get it now. I know what you're doing, but
Sounds accurate,
yeah.
She's a nightmare, but she's good. But before we get into Ring of Honor stuff, obviously, when we speak to people, certain people you see who they're trained by, and it fascinates me because I'm an old school fan. I was reading you was trained by obviously Johnny Rodz and Tazz. I mean,
correct.
What was the experience like first off with Johnny?
Oh, it was really cool. You know, he was kind of like real old school, especially the way he taught compared to a lot of people around that area. I was in Brooklyn, New York, and he just kind of had a ring in Gleason's gym, which is like a boxing gym in there. And through him, I learned things like side bumps and like these kind of different roles. It's like everywhere I've been other than Johnny's, there's like a more traditional, I guess, methods of stuff. But Johnny had that old school way. So it was cool. You know, it was a fresh perspective. What's old is new again, you know?
So,
And with
Johnny,
Tazz is another story. He's real intense, but he was great. He was wonderful. He was like the kind of like finishing school. It's kind of what I needed to hear. Someone to tell me that, hey, this is what you got to do if you want to be taken seriously, you know? So it was
Johnny,
cool kind of world.
Johnny was more the fundamentals, you know, the falls and everything like that, making sure all your fundamentals are spot on. But Tazz is the one who makes you into the polished product.
Great way of saying it. Yeah. Like the fundamentals of Johnny, I still kind of use today, but Tazz was really the first one that kind of ironed down psychology and, you know, the why and when to tune it up, when to have urgency and things like that. So definitely complemented each other.
How good Tazz is on AEW Dark. He absolutely the best part of Dark. The commentary every single week has me in tears. Because
I love Tazz.
Him and Excalibur are amazing. I think they're the best commentary team in wrestling right now.
Yeah, you know, I remember I listened to Tazz when he had his own radio show, and now he doesn't do that anymore. But we get to hear him every week, so it's even better, you know. Yeah, keeping it up.
Yeah, I think he's again Tazz. I think goes under the radar, but I think he's a very, very underrated talent, isn't he?
Oh, for sure, and well versed. You know, he can do a little bit of everything. You know, he's been in the business for so many years. And that's kind of like, I like learning from people like Tazz, who has many ways to make themselves valuable to a company. Because I know I won't be able to take bumps forever. My back's already, you know, close to tapping. So to have experience in all these other facets in wrestling is really cool, you know. And always my mind's kind of pointing what else can I learn how to do? What else can I, you know, skill sets can I acquire from wrestling? Tazz is a great example of those.
But that's it. Yeah, I always remember seeing an interview years ago, The Undertaker, and he said you're always learning in this business, and I guess that's exactly what you just pointed out.
Oh, for sure. And you know, if a guy like Taker could still be learning, then I got, you know, miles and miles of knowledge to catch up on. So it's cool. Never stop.
Well, obviously, Ring of Honor. You know, we've got Death Before Dishonor this weekend. But before that, obviously, as well. I mean, you were an assistant trainer at the dojo. Is that correct?
Oh, that's correct. Me and John Gresham, you know, we really took it under ourselves to make that place as awesome as it could be. You know, he's a world traveler wrestler, myself, and we put our knowledge together and we're trying to pass it down to the next group of guys looking to break into Ring of Honor, you know. And it's great. I love being a trainer. I love training these guys, and I'm super proud of so many of the people that come from the dojo system that are just really killing it on the Ring of Honor main roster.
Yeah, well, I know me and Callum say this all the time, but I think Ring of Honor is during the pandemic, even now, has been probably the best wrestling product around.
I think the way that Ring of Honor adapted to the pandemic was the best. Like,
Yeah.
throughout the pandemic, the product was still great, but the way they adapted and really used that time to like make Ring of Honor into something different and try out new things, that really worked for Ring of Honor. A lot of companies tried to do the same thing during a pandemic and it didn't work. But Ring of Honor said, right, let's try new things. And it did.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. You know, I think that a lot of companies, I applaud them for their efforts in trying to bring fresh, you know, stuff to the world throughout their, how many hours of TV they had to fill, and without having a crowd, you know, but it almost felt like it was just missing. Like they did things the same, and then you just take away that vital part. That now that on these products, it's back, and you could tell that it's, oh wow, it's so much better with that crowd. But I think the way the Ring of Honor kind of took it as a challenge is like, we're gonna take a magnifying glass, we're gonna zoom in to the rest of them, we're gonna focus even more on that, and bringing back the pure division, I think, was a great way to do that. It was perfectly timed, where it's that kind of wrestling style where you pay attention to that close, you know, and those details, attention to detail. You don't really quite get that through the other wrestling that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that I loved that came back this year was last year, the pure wrestling division. Because being an old school Ring of Honor fan myself, the first independent that I found was Ring of Honor. So to hear that the pure division was coming back, I was such a man. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Love that it came back. But for you, I mean, what's been the highlight, if there is, I mean, a silver lining during the pandemic? What for you has stood out that Ring of Honor has done the best during that time?
Oh, for me, really, that stood out is the security and the way that it took care of everyone on its roster. You know, like I know that certain companies had let people go at the beginning of the pandemic. And even when things were uncertain, where we didn't know when the next time we would have a show or taping, or, you know, I guess for the first couple months of the pandemic, we had like best of episodes. And for a while, it just seemed like we just had to wait it out. And for not one time did I worry and have to think, oh man, Ring of Honor, they're going to let us go. They're just going to cut us all to, like, they made me feel safe and secure, so I could worry about handling all the other things. So when I think of like the pandemic, the first thing I think of through Ring of Honor is, wow, I'm blessed that they took care of us, because they didn't have to, but they did anyway. So that means a lot to me.
We've heard that from so many people. We're lucky enough to do these Ring of Honor interviews on a fairly regular basis. And especially over lockdown, I guess one thing for us interviewers, there was never a shortage of interviews. Everybody had free time. So we were talking to quite a few people, and everyone from Ring of Honor was just saying, we don't have to worry being here. We know we're not going to get let go. They're looking after us. And the only reason we'd be let go is if we did something shitty, you know, as in any job. And as long as you're working hard, you're not going to lose your job. And I thought that's such a refreshing mentality to have during a pandemic, because I know there's other places, we all know where they are. You don't know if your job's secure, but with Ring of Honor, at least, you know that your favorite wrestlers have a secure job. And as a fan, you like to know that as well, because sometimes you can get invested in a wrestler and you don't know if they're going to be on TV next week. And with Ring of Honor, you know you can still get invested with people, because one, I trust Ring of Honor to tell a story with everybody. And two, everybody's always doing something. And I think it was Haskins we spoke to. Even when he was in the UK, they were still giving him stuff to do while he was over here. And I was like, that's so good. Everyone's still doing something, helping out with the company. And by the sounds of it, you've had no shortage of things to do as well. Oh,
yeah. You know, and it's great. You get to, as a wrestler, you get to prioritize wrestling throughout all these muddy waters that is the pandemic, where, you know, sometimes you'd have to make that stuff come down to the side, you know, workouts and the dieting, and you're worrying about all this other stuff. But it's really cool that we could still focus and get better. And like, I look at guys like Foundation guys, Rhett Titus, John Gresham, who probably in the pandemic are the best shape of their lives. They've been having the best matches of their lives. And it's like, they're not breaking a stride, because they're focused and they have the time and the effort to put towards the wrestling. They're reaping the benefits. You know, it's really cool to see.
Can we appreciate the shape that some people have got in over the pandemic? It's ridiculous. Like every time on Twitter, I'll see some wrestlers post a screenshot or something, and they're just in ridiculous shape. And with me, during the pandemic, I've never looked worse. And then you see these wrestlers, they're just absolutely ripped during a pandemic. I don't get it.
Yeah, my confidence got ripped to shreds once EC3 showed up on the roster because it's hard to compete with a guy like that.
That guy is a specimen. I mean, I've seen him in person before, and he's deceptively tall for a start, but he's wide.
Yeah,
Really wide
yeah, I think he competed in like a bodybuilding competition recently. I believe it, and and it's cool to have guys like that in the roster because where oftentimes, especially in certain independent locker rooms, there fluctuates the motivation and stuff. But Ring of Honor, everyone's really chomping and trying to get better and better. So like if you fall off the wagon, sort of say, you got to hop back on real quick, or else it's gonna move real quick. Because everyone's just continues to get better.
And I think that's what I'm excited about with Ring of Honor. Like I said earlier, I've been a Ring of Honor fan since 2003-4, and I've seen it go through. We've all seen it go through those stages of it's had its ups and its downs, as does every company. But I really feel like Ring of Honor is at the cusp of getting back to what they used to be. And for a few years, when Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, was there, it became the place that all the top wrestlers were, but then they'd move on to WWE or somewhere else. And I feel like it's at the point now where people are going to Ring of Honor because they want to stay in Ring of Honor. We spoke to Brody King, Mark Haskins, sorry. They were all saying, we want to stay in Ring of Honor. And they love it there. And I think it's good that people are going to Ring of Honor with the intent of staying instead of using it as that stepping stone to go to WWE. For yourself, how important is that?
Oh, to me, I think that's really important because it's a sense of pride in the locker room. The people that are here, the people that have been here, they've worked to make this place a destination place for all the other wrestlers, Yeah. And I think, especially as Ring of Honor evolved through the ages, I think at one point it was looked at as the alternative. If you're not a fan of WWE wrestling, then you have an alternative. You could check out Ring of Honor. But now in 2021, there are many alternatives. There's as many different wrestling companies as there are flavors of ice cream. So I think everyone, if they're looking for their niche thing, they could find it. So that forced Ring of Honor to find their style and stick to it. And there's guys that I think respect the way that Ring of Honor treats wrestling, especially like you said, bell-to-bell wrestling. That's always been the focus of Ring of Honor. So never will it sacrifice that in order to get something else as far as production or storyline. For Ring of Honor, the lifeblood will always be the wrestling. And I think the wrestlers who enjoy that to do it as much as there are people that enjoy watching it, that's the place for it. And Ring of Honor, and through everyone that's made it used Ring of Honor as a stepping stone per se, it seems like they're unrestricted, unrelentless kind of matches always happen in Ring of Honor. It's where there's no restraints. It's where you go out there and be the best wrestler you could be. And I think no matter how many people kind of go in and out, Ring of Honor remains that place, that outlet where if someone comes in Ring of Honor now, they're doing it because they want to show the world how great of a wrestler they are. And they know that they have the platform to do it.
Yeah, I could not agree more, because when you look at the landscape of pro wrestling in 2021, barring Roman Reigns, I really do think everyone who's at the top has been through Ring of Honor in some capacity. Like Ring of Honor and PWG. Without those two companies, the wrestling landscape this year looks very different. I mean, your top guys are not top guys. Your Seth Rollins, for example, are synonymous with Ring of Honor. You've got your Sami Zayn as El Generico, huge in PWG, and Ring of Honor too. Kevin Steen. Everybody has gone through this company. And I mean, think hypothetically, if you didn't have Ring of Honor, how different do you think wrestling would be nowadays? Because for me, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think it would be tremendously different. It's just such an impact, the Ring of Honor style. It kind of Americanized some Japanese wrestling. It took pieces from otherwise like untraveled waters for most American wrestling fans and showed them that kind of wrestling through Ring of Honor. But without it, it's almost like asking what would the Attitude Era be without ECW before it, things like that. I think that it's a lot of the wrestling that we see on TV now, its heart and its soul comes from Ring of Honor origin, the early 2000s Ring of Honor matches. A lot of the top guys, if you ask them who left an impression on them and the wrestler they want to be, a lot of it are those Ring of Honor matches. And without that, it's really tough to imagine. I'm sure wrestling would still be in a great place, but it would not be as intense and as like I don't know, as thrilling. I think the best bell-to-bell wrestling we're getting now, this generation. No disrespect to the guys who were doing it for the past, 100 years, but I think in the last 20 or so years, it's the best bell-to-bell stuff, and Ring of Honor is a big reason for that.
Yep, could not agree more. And I mean, when you say like, we've been watching Ring of Honor for a long time, you've been part of it for a while now as well. But when you started first watching Ring of Honor, who were the guys that you saw in that company and thought, this is the place I want to be? I need to be there. Who inspired you to go to Ring of
Honor? Bryan Danielson is definitely one of them. I got the best of DVDs here, all that. He's always been a guy, and especially being a smaller guy, at least, he's taller, but smaller compared to others. It's a good inspiration for a guy like me, another smaller guy. And once I got into Ring of Honor, Jay Lethal is just the best example, I think, of someone who you'd want to compare yourself to be like, in the ring, outside the ring, and in the locker room. Once I had the opportunity to wrestle him in one of my first few matches in Ring of Honor, and it was just a mind-altering experience. And just seeing how he took the ball and ran with it and became the guy and the franchise in Ring of Honor. And there's been almost like a standard associated with every time he goes out there, it's going to be an awesome match. And he could have a great match with anyone. He's someone that just gravitated towards. And then it would be wrong if I didn't bring up Jonathan Gresham, because he's someone that was in my shoes a few years ago. And we were guys that, for lack of a better word, were frustrated in certain ways. And we wanted to, find the best in ourselves and make this place as best as it could be. And just seeing everything he's done with the Pure Division and the Foundation and just himself as a performer and as a wrestler, it's inspiring. I like being surrounded by these guys, and it pushes me to want to do that myself, to be the best version of myself and make Ring of Honor the best version of itself.
That's good to know. I mean, Jay Lethal, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. That guy is a cornerstone of Ring of Honor. We talk about how different the wrestling scene would be without Ring of Honor, but how different would Ring of Honor be without Jay Lethal? I mean, that guy, he came in as, Samoa Joe's protege, and I thought that was awesome for a start, but that he's completely separated himself from that to the point that people forget that ever happened, and he's just become Mr. Ring of Honor. He's won everything there is to win in the company. I just can't imagine the landscape without him, and I'd love to see him and yourself and everyone else included in Ring of Honor. I hate bringing it up because it's such a cliche thing to say nowadays, but the Forbidden Door, whatever it means. I love to see companies working together. I'm a wrestling fan. I want to see companies work together. And I'm sure as a wrestler, you want to do the same thing. Is that something that you want to see Ring of Honor do more? I know it's like you're not going to just know what's going on backstage, but is that something you want to see happening? And is there any sign of it happening soon?
Well, I think as long as there's an intriguing match when you compare talent rosters for all these companies, there's plenty of them out there. I think at the end of the day, that's why there's things like Forbidden Door now that it's open. So as far as interested, I think, yeah, it would be great to see these guys mix and match and first-time matches and dream matches connect. But then I look at the other side of the coin, and I think there's so much talent in Ring of Honor that have yet to be really seen themselves. There's only 1 hour TV each week. We have the pay-per-views few and far between. We don't have as much airtime as these other companies. So, as much as I would like to see a dream match, like a Jay Lethal versus a Bryan Danielson or something like that, I would like to see, Brian Johnson versus EC3 for 20 minutes on TV because they had a great match, or something like that, where there's Ring of Honor guys on our roster, guys like Dak Draper, Eli Isom, who I think they give more time. Now it's their turn to develop into these new stars. Mm-hmm. So for me, if we could have the best of both worlds, time for everyone, for our guys to grow and then for our established guys to mix and match, I think it would be good. And as far as it happening, you never know. I guess that's why it's the intrigue about the Forbidden Door is that it could be open at any time. We have the Honor Rumble is this weekend, Death Before Dishonor, and I hear that there's some surprises in there. We have two, Jake Atlas and Taylor Rust, are two guys that just recently got released from NXT. They're going to have a match at Death Before Dishonor, so we're bringing some.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I think, it's stars are aligning as far as that. If there's a wrestler that has the talent and that's hungry and wants to prove themselves, I think they knock on the Ring of Honor door, and if they got the credentials, I'm pretty sure it's going to open for them. It's been doing that way. It's been that way for years.
That's a great answer. I mean, if it's going to happen, it'll happen. But if not, it's not like Ring of Honor misses out because they've still got a stacked roster. And it's not always bad to focus on yourself. While everyone else is playing games with each other, wrestling each other, if Ring of Honor just focused on themselves, I do think that would still work in their favor. Because, like you said, imagine you've got 1 hour a week. And if you do bring in the Forbidden Door, bringing in people, you're giving up spots on that hour for other people from other companies. Focus on yourself. I wouldn't be angry if, I'd love to see Ring of Honor playing with these other companies, but I'd be just as excited to see Ring of Honor, doing their own thing. And that's a good mentality to have.
Thank you. Yeah, I think oftentimes when we think of all these wrestling companies out there, we associate it with a competition. Yeah. Where in a sense we're competing to be the best and competing for attention. But I think you truly get better when you compete against yourself and you're not so worried about what other people are doing, but you're looking at what you did last week and you think, well, how can we make it better this week? And I think if Ring of Honor kind of keeps to itself in that and, just keeps getting better and keeps having everyone involved in it or trying to get better as well, it's going to be best for everyone. Because there's a lot of competition out there and it's almost like everyone with their pitchforks and their fires for what opinion is right and stuff, or I think, like the kind of wrestling you like and just try to be the best at it that you could be.
God, it's exhausting being a wrestling fan at times, isn't it? Some days I log on to Twitter and I'll last 20 seconds before I'm done. I'm just like, did we really need to argue about that? It's one of the most trivial things, like, oh, my wrestler is better than your wrestler. This company is better than your. It's like, can't we just enjoy that wrestling in 2021 is possibly the best it's ever been? Even through a pandemic, it's still come out better than it's ever been, ever.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's exciting to be a part of, and it's exciting to see where we go from here and what are the next steps that we take.
Well, speaking of, what's next for you? A cliche question, but you have some goals coming off the pandemic for what you want to do this year and in 2022. So what do you want to do?
Hey, well, this is the first time period in Ring of Honor where both myself and the Pure Division are both available. Prior to being an assistant trainer at the dojo, the Pure Division was already dead and buried. So the fact that it's here now, I want to be as big of a part of that as possible. Pure Wrestling is something that's very interested in. I've been very interested in for a long time. And as far as a wrestler, that's my favorite style. So, I want to step by step, I want to get closer to the Pure Championship. And also, I just want to help do whatever I could do to make Ring of Honor the best Ring of Honor could be. I'm kind of split at a fork in the road where as a wrestler and then as behind the scenes and as a coach. So I'm ready to explore both paths. If I do them at the same time as a player coach, then that's even better. I just know that I'm proud to be a part of Ring of Honor. I'm proud to be in that locker room. There's a lot of students in the dojo I want to see succeed. And, if I could get the opportunity to chase that title and have a chance to, be the best pure wrestler I could be at the same time, it's really the best of both worlds.
That's awesome. And I can honestly see it happening. One, I can tell how driven you are to do that. You seem like you're a big fan of that style of wrestling. And having seen you work, I can see you being the Pure Champion at some point. If you keep it up, I'm sure we're going to see, yourself as Pure Champion. There's also a few matches I'd love to see in that division. Like, first of all, yourself, I've got to ask, can you see yourself versus Danhausen happening anytime soon? Because Danhausen is our favorite wrestler. I've always got to throw him in somewhere into the interview. Yourself versus Danhausen, how do you think that match would go down?
I think there would be a little nice and a little evil, a combination. But Danhausen, he's great. He's really entertaining. And he's someone who I could have sworn I saw someone that looked like him, Donovan Danhausen, years ago at a Ring of Honor show helping out. And now when I see this guy and how he's become, it's just really a hats off to him because he kind of found something that's so different and he made it work. And he's super entertaining. Even myself, if I'm scrolling down and if I see a Danhausen video, it has my attention. And if I start watching it, he knows how to keep it. So as far as wrestling him, I think that would be fun because it's something something that I'm not used to, and especially if it's in a pure rules match, I wouldn't know what to expect. But
That's what I
I've
mean.
seen him. Yeah, he could back it up. He's not all laughs and giggles here and evil. He could go. He's a good wrestler. So I think he's someone I've yet to wrestle. I would love to in the future.
And he always works well with those serious grappler types, like your Brian Johnstones and stuff. You know, he's when he's up against that kind of wrestler, he's a great foil for those. And I think you'd be the same. So I'd actually like to do that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it would be good as long as he doesn't try to put any of those teeth in my mouth. It's all good.
He's going to. I think it's almost guaranteed.
Yeah, there's maybe nothing I could do about that.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely great talking to you. Hopefully get the chance to speak to you again down the line. But before we do go, where can we find you? When can we see you on Ring of Honor? And do you have any merchandise?
Oh, sweet. Well, I just want to thank you for your kind words today, and thank you for having me. It's been a true pleasure. If anyone wants to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, it's both at Will Ferrara. Currently no merchandise, but you could buy the ROH Pure Division shirts at shophonor.com. Mm-hmm. And I'll actually be featured on Ring of Honor TV this coming weekend. I challenge Josh Woods, who's ranked #1 in the Pure Division. Mm-hmm. So I figured what better way to go for the rankings than to go for the guy at the top of it. Right before he has his Pure title match for Gresham this Sunday. So, yeah, dove into the deep end. And my favorite place to watch Ring of Honor is Fight TV every Monday. Depending on where you live, it airs a different time, but I just watch the VOD Monday night. You know, we do the watch party on Twitter. Is cool. #WatchROH. And, yeah, I hope whatever wrestling you guys watch, you just enjoy it and, you know, have fun because that's what wrestling's all about.
And that is the best way to finish this interview. Whatever wrestling you're watching, just enjoy it or try. And if you don't enjoy it, don't go and complain about it on Twitter. So
there you go.
On that note, thank you so much for joining us, Will. Absolute pleasure. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you.